All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today on a Friday evening. We have a guest speaker with us who's despite the fact that she's not keeping too well, but she relented and made sure that she made it for the event. There is a very commonly asked question that, okay, fine, we've completed our MBA, but now what? What next? What are we up to? What are the stories? How are the alums doing? And we've got like a really special guest today who has shaped her career really well. She was an experienced professional. Then she, of course, had she had a PGPM HR program, and post that, of course, she's doing really well. She's leading the HR operations and micromanaging things. She's literally working as a micro entrepreneur at her firm and doing really well. And of course, we're going to be asking her insights about the hustle culture. We'll be talking about how the recruitment process goes in a startup, and how is she constantly keeping herself motivated. Clearly she's sick, but she's still here. She's unwell, but she's still here. So we're really excited. I welcome Enna Bhattacharya. She is a soil alumni, and she is 2017 2018 alumni. Of course, Enna, please feel free to correct any information that we're providing right now. And like I said, I think I'll let Enna spearhead the entire conversation. We are really excited. Welcome, of course, to the webinar, Enna. And I will let you start the conversation. Please help us contextualize this entire discussion. Tell us a little more about yourself, and I'm really looking forward. And thanks again, like I said, despite not keeping being under the weather, you still relented and made sure that you were addressing everybody who's joined.
Sure. I think thank you all the people that I can see at the moment who have joined. I know it's a Friday evening for all of you as well. Being here at the moment, and I'm sure I will make this time of yours valuable. Maybe some input and insight is what you can take back with yourselves. Otherwise, yes, rightly mentioned. I am a alumnus, and I've been obviously blessed to have that experience in my life. It is obviously a very compact course. It is obviously a very say for example, you don't have a lot of time to breathe, but I believe that is how it is, and that makes it exciting on the toes. But my experience, obviously, my name is Zena, as Neerja rightly mentioned, and after and before MBA, obviously life has been 360-degree different, and it has taught me a lot. It has taught me humility, how to be down to earth, and a lot of many other things which soil has the highest flags in those terms, which a lot of colleges are missing out at the moment. But that's about me. Obviously, if there are questions from anybody, I'm happy to answer. Over to you, Neerja.
Yes, Anna, we of course, like Anna has said, that she has of course changed, but here you are the center. We're really looking forward to unearth more about how's your journey been like. How is it all shaped up? So you're currently leading the HR
Yeah.
operations, and I would really like to dissect that little by little. First, tell us about your overall journey so far. How is it being an HR professional, and what are the things that you're constantly juggling with?
I think in HR, no matter which hierarchy in that job role you are at, the one thing you really have to be, no matter how much your inner soul says you like, dislike, you hate, love, whatever you do, but there's always a lens above and beyond everything, which is the lens of neutrality. And you being the mediator between the company, basically the employer and the employee, you have to look a lot of things from both the lenses, and you have to look a lot of things from a neutral and unbiased thought process. Obviously, you might be somebody else as a human being, but you are somebody who is supposed to be the fair person amongst everything. And there can be good judgments, bad judgments, misjudgments, but that's all okay. You're learning in the process. In terms of my career, obviously, almost seven years of experience before and after my connect with soil. But you have to obviously keep evolving yourselves in terms of understanding what bigger companies are doing, how are they looking up at a situation from a different lens, what are the best learning outcomes you can get in terms of reading different articles, understanding what's happening in the country, in the industry, in your setup. So to keep yourself updated, you can in today's time, there are a lot of people who are moving to podcasts. So maybe you can be somebody who gets into the habit of listening podcast or any topic or subject you like. So in terms of HR, to be specific, a lot of people think it is a very 2% thing where you just do the celebrations or make sure that the office is looking pretty. But HR is much above and beyond all of this. And people forget that they are the people who are making sure that you get everything timely, and the misjudgments will always stay. But what you can really do is to understand from what lens they come from and still maintain your say for example your humbleness, and keep doing what you are doing. Make sure that you are somebody who has faith in your own role, because if you don't, others would obviously not show interest. So in terms of my all the last experiences have been from different industries. I it's not by choice, but it's so happened that I've been into pharma, I've been into automotive, which was in Mahindra, I've been with advertising agency, which is Group M. So, and at the moment, another education industry where I am at the moment. So you understand that in the end, your job role remains the same, right? You don't have a lot of different things to do, but you have a different industry, and you have to understand the whole supply chain of that business. Because otherwise, even if you're solving a simple grievance of an employee, you would never know what they're working on if you do not know the supply chain. So as much as it seems that HR does not bring a lot on the table, I think it's time, and I think it's time that you start being more into the business and not just somebody who's not getting into it. It shouldn't be a situation where an old saying is there now, what does HR bring on the table? Are they even on the table is the question. So first, I think a lot of those barricades needs to be proven wrong. And that can only happen when you also would have somebody who's a better leader. In terms of, if you are not leading at that moment, you need to have better people in your life to maybe show you guidance. So yeah, I think at the moment, focus on making sure your knowledge is expanding day by day, and that is what will keep you growing and staying up to the mark, is what I think.
Absolutely. I was about to ask the next question. I also had the opportunity of working very closely, briefly with Anna, and I remember she said that, it's a very thankless job. People who would be sitting around you, you don't really know what's happening, but at the same time, it's a very strategic role. So that's my next question, Anna, to you. That, like you said, it's no more an opportunity where you're only decorating or organizing those Diwali dinner,
Yeah,
or the potlucks, etc.
of
Maybe
course,
that might be a part of it, but that's
of
not the
course,
critical KRA. So that's
of
not
course.
there, but it's very strategic. And you particularly have seen you evolve, like, from the strategic hirings that you've done that has taken your current brand to a different orbit altogether. So kudos to you for that. So tell us a little bit more about these common myths that are surrounding HR domain, that it's just supposed to be organizing certain events, but it's much more strategic. That's the transition that we're able to see. So help us understand.
See, so I call HR a big umbrella, like, right? And every umbrella has those wires which connect. So those baby umbrellas design. So every those connect is something under the HR. Say, for example, you're into talent acquisition, or you are into the whole gamut of talent management. And in talent management, it also includes your, say, for example, your increments, your performance, your how are you handling the leaders, how are you making sure that the hypos are being treated well, or the how to uplift the other people, the learning and development. And then obviously it ends or boils down to how the exit happens and why did the exit happen. So a lot of times, as much as I wouldn't mind being called that you are somebody who takes care of the company by just engagement events, but why not? Somebody needs to do that job, somebody needs to own that thing and wear it as a star on your shoulder. Because in the end, when you do that, you and most of the HRs, you're not just looking for that smile in the audience that you made them happy, but also that's your role. Somebody needs to do that. And why does it has to be that people wouldn't want to even own up if they do that? So my point is, you will become, or you will go up to the ladder once you've done the scratch jobs. Because in a bigger company, if you're working, there would be somebody who will tell you, write a mail to the another department, ask them to give you this data, whatever the data could be. Now, say for example, if you do not know how the data is actually made, who are the major person who are writing that data, making the calculations, you will always be the person who is just receiving the data, but never know if the data is right or wrong. So you need to know the data as well, right? So if you are somebody who knows Excel, or if you're somebody who knows the basic of Excel, you will just maybe be sure that you are aware of the knowledge. So when it comes to making people happy at one point, and on the other end, the strategic role, you have to make difference. And without difference, I don't think anybody takes anybody seriously, because you're just another employee at that moment. Because until that time, people will not figure out that you do make a difference. Your contribution or your judgments actually do something. A lot of people also believe that, say for example, higher up the ladder, there are comments like, this X person is just getting a lot of salary, but doesn't really bring a lot of change or doesn't really contribute. But you might just not know that his job is only to make sure that the ideas that reach to him is correct or incorrect. Is it validated well or not? That's his job, and that only comes with experience. His job at that age is not to do the scratch work. His job at that age is not to create the Excels which needs to be CC'd or BCC'd. His job is just to make sure that the idea is bang on. Say for example, somebody approving a marketing idea, if he or she would start doing the editing, he or she will never be in that strategic level where he is actually giving the right ideas to go in a proper direction. So I think it comes with a lot of you getting into the work and knowing from scratch. So yeah.
Absolutely, having that vision and that power of discretion, that's very important. You've been working at a very high-paced environment, which has grown, like, in a very short span. And of course,
Yeah,
a lot of credit goes to you and your team as well. So can
everyone.
you just
Yeah.
help us, yes, can you just help us understand that, how are hirings changing? Because you also said that in the past, when you were working for 7 years, you worked with brands like Mahindra and Mahindra, and now when you're working with an organization like, say, Masters Union. So what are the changes that you see in hiring? What is the personality type that you're now looking for? Is it like, the Gen Z hustle culture only that you're interested to hire? So what is it? What is the hiring culture like?
So that's a very tricky question in terms of if any of my both the companies look at the video. But honestly, there will be a change. There has to be a change. You cannot hire somebody who has an old school way of thinking to a situation where I'm hiring somebody with a vibe of making a nice Instagram reel, right? I can't hire. They both are from different genres, they both are from different experience level and maybe even thought process. So obviously there has been a hiring change, not just in the past few years, but also hiring change in terms of the industry you represent. Like whatever I do here would be way different what maybe KPMG is doing, right? In terms of hiring, because their expertise level or the vibe level is totally different, and we really believe in vibe. And I truly think at the moment where I am, the whole thought process is whether you can understand the hustling culture, because startups are not shining overnight, right? There is a lot of input, there is a lot of people behind one event to make sure that the event runs beautifully. So the family has to come together. The hiring has to be done in such a way where if I adopt a child, will that child be and behave in the same way I am expecting my own blood to behave? It's like that. So if you are somebody who's hiring in this hustling company, you have to be on your toes. You have to be, the decisions can change not overnight, but over seconds. And it is only because we have such a busy mind running for the betterment of the brand, or say, for example, for the best of the brand. Because even my best idea could be the medium in front of somebody else's idea, but you won't stop giving, right? You will not stop putting your best foot forward. So hiring is a crazy difference. And even from the perspective, the age we look at, we are a very young company. Our average age is 30, so we prefer people who have such energy, such interest, and know that it could change every minute, but I can keep my calm, or I can be sure that I'm here to stay. So it will change. Whereas if in a different company which has been running for 50 years or 20 years or 30 years, they've already set up themselves, they've already made a mark, people already know about them. So there is a difference that company A you are seeking and company B is seeking on the other way, that I don't need people, people needs my brand. And on the other hand, there are brands where they need a better people, or a say for example a level of person. So the ball game changes once you've made the mark, and the mark only comes when people are aware about you without even buying your product or taking your service. So I think there always will be a difference of hiring, industry to industry and culture to culture.
That's very honestly answered, that that energy, that vibe, that really needs to match. And I
Yeah.
loved how you made that analogy of, like, the adoption and how it's a
Yeah.
process of making sure that you embrace the family ethos. That was really nice, very well put. And there is this constant questioning about how Chat GPT, for instance, made half of the marketing team obsolete, right? And how AI is going to be taking. So, what is your opinion about the future of HR, particularly when we're talking about the dominance of artificial intelligence, when we are talking about the dominance, so to say, of data analytics as well? So, where do you think HR is actually moving towards?
See, HR obviously is much above and beyond just the theoretical part, or say for example just like they don't really contribute, or statements like they don't really need this. But we are seeing roles like HR analytics. We do see roles where we need somebody who knows data analytics. So no matter which department you're from or role you're from, you need to have a basic knowledge of numbers. And I myself have been somebody who's scared of numbers, who's chosen not to resisted taking maths as a subject. And a lot of people might just think and say very, very HR-ish, because that's how it has happened. But I have put in my efforts to make sure that I pick up that skill even if I hate it, but that is what will sell me. So you will have to put in your efforts to make sure what will sell you. It doesn't matter if you don't like salad. If you have to lose weight, you will have to eat salad. Likewise, it doesn't matter whether you like data or you like analytics. If you have to go up the ladder, you have to have numbers to represent yourself. You will have to have numbers to sell yourself. Coming to AI and Chat GPT, obviously, a lot of people think that these are the threats and my job could be a loss, or I could be fired because I do not know all of this. It's true, and the only thing I believe it is true is because they will not replace you. The only time you will be replaced is when you do not know how to use those modules, is when you do not know how to understand how, say for example, AI works, because AI also needs to be run by a human, right? Somebody is behind that machine, somebody is behind that module. So you cannot expect ki meri job chali jayegi, say for example, because I do not know this, jayegi. There is mass layoff going on in Google. Of course it will happen. If it can impact that space, it can impact miser spaces as well. But the only thing that will keep you stay in a particular is one thing: if you are somebody who's determined to do what you're doing and you are showing your best from day one, because every day is a new day, and one mistake gets you added in that column galti hui hai, or doesn't take the work seriously, or any comment about your competency or KRAs. So you will have to make sure you are up to date. You will have to make sure that you know how to use a basic, say for example, any module. There are so many HRMS portals that people will be using down the line, or they already have. Now if you do not know how to use a normal dashboard, or if you do not know how to use a normal tool or any chatbot, or you do not, it will impact you, right? It's as simple as our parents not knowing how to make a reel, because in those times it wasn't there. But there are similar people in the same age where they've learned it, where there are dadajis who know how to use Instagram, you know so they are called the cool people because they know what their own age group doesn't know. Likewise, we will also be there eventually. We do not have our hands aware of about those situations, or we do not know how to use them. It might impact.
Absolutely. There is this question that I had, but before that, just connected to this, you said a very beautiful thing that you will have to upgrade your skills. If data analytics has to be learned, you might as well learn it. You actually did this program in 2017, and I must say
Yeah.
that at that time, it was, of course, it wasn't at its nascent stage, but still, like,
Hmm.
it started in 2008. What kind of decision making did you go, or how did you convince yourself that, because it was an alternate to an MBA, it wasn't a 2-year program. So I'm just very curious to know that, was it the same mindset that you have right now, that, you need to upgrade your skill set, and for that you need to make a right choice? Like, what was the thought process like when you selected the
Do
PG?
you mean that before I chose soil?
Yeah, before you chose soil,
Okay.
because it was very unconventional. Like,
Hmm.
had I been in your shoes, perhaps, like, normal
Yeah, of course.
MBA aspirant is thinking like a 2-year degree program versus, like, what a 1-year program can do. So
Yeah.
how did you have that risk appetite and you took this decision?
Um, okay. I'll actually have to go back to that time when I'd actually put the applications and everything. See, for me, it was when I'd heard first time about this brand and college. Obviously, I started doing my R&D in terms to understand kahan pe hai, people know about this or not, and a lot of other questions. My families who were here, I started questioning them. Do you know this? How is the output? Do you know anybody who's getting placed from this college? So I got a good response. I got a good response, which is why I could take that leap of faith to somebody who's not stayed out of their own city or state ever, has chosen to fly all the way to this side and stay here. So for me, it was a decision of two, three criterias. One, whether I want to do something in a year's time or 2 years' time. So that was my first question, whether I can put in so much of time. And is 1 year versus 2 years is okay for me or not? So when I could cut down to the fact that, if I can get a similar output with 1 year's course, why should I put in 2 years course? That is one. And second was, it kept me on my toes being a very compact course, right? There were nights we had not slept. There were days when you had to wake up early. We've done, had to travel, went to Sidbari. There is a beautiful concept which a lot of colleges do not have it yet. Who would have designed yoga being a part of your culture or your life? So there's a lot of beauty in planning how it should be, how should the experience be for students. And for me, it was about reading about what all they offer, because in the end, it's like choosing a job. Everybody's getting the salary, but what are the benefits? Are the benefits a little higher than the other? So I could see my own benefit. You could call it selfish at that point of time, but I could see that I would get more than education. I would get more than just a placement. So when I saw the more in it, I think I could align better. And it wasn't that difficult to make that choice. I knew what I wanted, and it served my purpose.
And was your undergrad also aligned? Like, you always wanted to be an HR professional itself, or did it, like, there's something
I
triggered?
still don't know if I want to be an HR.
Oh, that's
So
good.
so I am never very planned in my life. I'm somebody who just does what it feels good, and if I know I can put 100%. So my mind is crazily not theoretically, but very, it runs in a very marathonish way towards marketing topics. I get a lot of ideas and I share a lot of ideas, what could sell, what couldn't sell, what could do good in this generation, and all of that. But that, you could call that subject my passion, but this is what my reality is. I am somebody who gets what is needed to be delivered on the other end. It could be a response, it could be a data, it could be whatever in the sense. So I somewhere knew down the line that either I am a PR or an HR. These were the two areas where I knew I could fit better, because it would just let me be me. So I think that was only reason where I was sure of being in one of these sectors of my job life. uh, Trust me, I did not know what I really wanted to be. And if given a choice, I can still change my industry or my role or my everything, if I have the knowledge about it. So I don't restrict my likings to anything. Even in food, it could change tomorrow. Doesn't matter.
Right. So maybe in future we see Dr. Anna Bhattacharya doing her research related to branding or marketing and, satiating her desire of probably fulfilling
Maybe.
that creative aspect. There's a question, like, you were
Yeah.
unwell today and particularly you were unwell during the second half of the day. So how
Yeah.
did you usual day look like? What kind of work got impacted because of you being unwell? And then, people waiting, okay, when is Anna going to be back? So what does a normal day for you look like? Or what is a normal day for an HR professional looks like, from talent acquisition to, I remember having seen you and your team members once a week, or, at the beginning of every month, you'd always be having these orientations and these inductions for new jobs.
Yeah.
But otherwise, how does a normal work day look like for
See,
you?
if so, you as you might know, obviously you would know that we work in a very we expect the employees to be in the premises for a certain duration so that they work, because it has taken a lot of say for example efforts to put that process in place firstly. So when it comes to me in terms of whether how busy or so, it is always busy. Reason being, it's like I said, it's a startup culture. There's a lot of hustling that keeps going on. There's a lot of work that needs to get converted. There's a lot of people looking up to you for a decision. There are a lot of people looking up to you for their daily day impact, not just grievances. Grievances is just a part of that aspect, but a lot of people depending that what decision will come now. What news is being passed on the leadership so that we get to know about it. So our contribution to making a decision and also announcing has a lot of impact, and getting into that decision has a lot of back end work. So it is a crazy busy, and not that I would say that 24/7 we are swamped with work and all of that. There are good days when you go for a party with the whole bunch of your set of people. You enjoy the vibe and the culture and everything. But there are days where you'll have to put in the efforts, because that's what you're there for. No matter which company you join, you're there for a reason. They've hired you for a reason. Until the time you are serving, you are under them, right? If you can't be, if that's not your forte, there are people now who would say मैं किसी की सुन नहीं सकता, मेरे को boss बनना है, I don't want a boss above me. Then you shouldn't be in that sector at all. You are meant for more of an entrepreneur. Be something, become something, give jobs to people. That could be a different story. But till the time you're working for a company, there will be decisions, there will be impact, and there will be work. So it's not a lala company. It is not a processed कि यही process है, यही चलेगा, हम यही करेंगे. Not like that. The decisions change, the impact change, and there are a very compact and busy day, but we manage it well. There are days when we take breaks also in the day. It's not that we can't get up from the desk, we can't go for lunch. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. It's as lively as any other corporate, but it's a startup, so there is obviously a pressure.
Absolutely. I remember very closely Anna and her team implementing, particularly, I think it was spearheaded by her only, every now and then, like, at 4 o'clock, 4 to 4:30, everybody could come with their grievances. And I remember Anna saying this line that, it was always available. People were just coming every time. I've now just put a structure to the timing. So, of course, a lot of changes that you
Yeah.
have envisioned. So that's amazing. And I remember when I was working with you, you'd gotten married also during the same time. Correct me if that's wrong. Today's Gen Z is constantly worried about, is there a concept of work-life balance at all? And if there is, how do you probably how do you manage? Because you also hustle so much. And I remember categorically, yes, of course, to quote Anna, now I can recollect. I remember she said once, she's like, Nisha, I think we'll spread the bed. I think it was with Tuisha, if I can recollect. You're like, we need to spread the bed only. That's the only thing which is left, because we were coming in the morning and going right at the night. So
Evenings and
do you
nights.
maintain a work-life balance? Please help us understand that.
Um, I do not know if you know this, but my husband is the same batch from Soil. He's also from Soil, and we've graduated together. So I am married to somebody who loves working and is a crazy workaholic. So I do not think that impacts my job life at all, because we both have, and I've learned a lot from this partnership of my marriage, that if you love what you do, it will not make you feel bored or lethargic. It's just all about your mind. If your mind is active, you can still do it. So it all depends about, if you are mentally feeling ill, you will become ill. You just have to keep up yourself. And had I not got a push from your end and from my husband's end, I would have easily taken a blanket or a quilt and slept, because I was feeling unwell. Now that I'm talking, everything is going fine. I might still take rest or whatever, but it's all in your mind, to be honest. And work-life balance is all in your hands. If you are somebody who's efficient in your job, if you are somebody who's doing good in your job, you can crazily finish your whole quota of the work which you might have planned previous evening, that tomorrow on 4th of February or 5th of February I'm going to do this. And you do have an idea that each task would take this much of time, so you can finish that. But do not overestimate or overpromise and yourself. Always overperform and underpromise, so that you're always happy with that fact that you've done it better. Having a learning of startup culture, of how it runs, has taught me a lot, that this is how every company actually started, right? This is how every today's 70 years of tenure of any company, or being established in, say for example, 1950s or whatever. But their days have also been what we are living at the moment, right? It is just a different vibe, or it is a different color and combination and generation. But they also did the same thing. They also figured out different ways of marketing. They also figured out different ways of handling people, or how to make structures. How is the whole army culture running? How are people, how do they know the hierarchies? Somebody thought of it, right? We are also doing the same thing. We are also just portraying the same way. So coming back to the personal aspect, um, as long as it's work, my partnership is in such a way where we do not bother each other. If it's work, it's work. So it doesn't matter. And as much as every partner should be grateful of the fact that the other one understands, I think there will never be a problem. And if you're somebody who will tell that I'll be back by 5, but you're actually back by 8:30, then it's you sharing a wrong commitment to something, I would say. So know yourself, know how much task you need to do, and be sure of your job, and that is what will keep everything aligned. So I don't think your personal life will impact your work or vice versa. There are two different brains, and I know people will tell me ऐसा नहीं होता, एक ही दिमाग है, नहीं हो सकता. But honestly speaking, leave your work stress in work, get back home and keep your personal life stress at home. The moment you get impacted, something or the other will get ruptured.
So I think in this entire conversation, I got to know that our next alum speaker, perhaps who that.
Yeah, as I said, he's a workaholic. He won't have the bandwidth, maybe.
Okay, so Anna's already refused that. Okay. Before we let you go, one personal and the other HR related question. You also mentioned about the human resource management portals, like say a Darwin Box or a Keka.
Yeah.
So how can a young professional, perhaps who's aspiring to get into HR, learn more about dealing with these, or collecting data or analyzing it? Are there some structured maybe Coursera courses or Udemy courses,
Yeah.
or something that you'd probably, if there is a young professional watching this and they're really looking up to you and your incredible illustrious career of over 7 years, so what kind of skill set, how can they improve the HR professional skill sets? Are there certain things that they could
Yeah.
definitely do?
See, firstly, I'm yet to be in that stage where my career is huge. I'm just young in the field and the industry, and there's a lot to learn. There's no dearth of information learning, and HR seems very shallow, but it isn't. It is deep, and it has huge, impact. The whole domino effect is huge. So that's what I would say, that it's not that it's 7 years has just very baby depth. It is huge. It's an iceberg, basically. Coming back to the question about upskilling themselves, I do not think anybody in this world needs to pay to, one, learn, and second, um, lose their body or build their body fat. Simple. You have your Google, you have an internet, everybody has a phone. And I'm not the first one talking on these lines, but to be honest, you just need to Google your questions. You just need to have, there are millions of free courses on YouTube. There are millions of people who are teaching you to use a normal Excel. There are people on Instagram now having reels and ads and sponsored ads where they'll tell you that, follow my page, give me 200 rupees, I'm going to tell you the course. And they are the dedicated entrepreneurs and the freshers in the market who have learned the skill already and wants to monetize it. But a simple VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, a simple making a dashboard, making a graph, or understanding how this conversion happens, anything, you get it on YouTube at the moment. You Google after this call, you will get everything you need. You figure out how does Keka work, you have a YouTube video for that. If anybody wants to learn or maybe wants to get inspiration to create their own, everything is there. It's just about intent and what's your priority in life. That's all.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a couple of things all of you could note down the way that Anna also said, make your task sheet and understand, never overestimate or like, don't underperform and then like commit more. So those are really important virtues altogether. Before we let you go, we are very curious and excited. Of course, you're very humble. But having said that, whatever you've achieved so far, where is Anna visualizing herself in the next 5 to 10 years? What are your future goals? How do you plan to achieve them? What kind of roadmap have you put together? So
Okay.
what are future goals?
So like I said, I do not know my next minute about what I will be doing, whether I want a cup of tea or a coffee. I don't know. So that's a very HR question to me. Where do I see myself 5 years down the line? But to be honest, I am in a stage of my life where this is the time I can put in my best hours. This is the only, until your 20s, you just figure out that, what I want to become, and you get your outer shell of the boiled egg out and you realize, oh, this is the real world. This is where, there's no huge legacy left for me. I have to create my own. And from that, you will realize that, say, for example, what you really want to become, what you really want to do. So in my 5 year down the line, all I think is just to be better from the previous day, just to have a little more knowledge than what I had, say, for example, on 2nd of February. Did I learn something new? Did I read a book in a page in a book? Did I see a new podcast, hear a new podcast while driving? So am I better in every 24 hours? That's my step one. And after that, I would always want to keep upskilling myself. There are a lot of people I've never thanked, but I thank them in my prayers, that, thank you for teaching me hard ways of learning things, but thank you. Maybe I do not have the guts to tell them that, thank you, but there are people I feel a happy smile for, and they are the people who have taught me a lot of things. So gratitude for them, and keep learning from everything that I do, maybe a percent more than the previous day. And if I am determined to be something, become something, maybe I just want to, just stretching it for another minute, maybe I just want to have a shelter for dogs. I don't know. Maybe that's what I just leave everything 10 years down the line and I'm back to my interests, which are dogs and painting. Maybe that's a cafe I want to open. So I do not know whether HR is the thing I want, whether this, but all I know, till the time I'm doing the role, it'll have my full justice. Till the time I'm doing the role, or I'm in the role and I'm working for somebody, I'm going to do the full, justice to that step. So I think just do that. Just be honest so that you can face the mirror every day. I think that should just serve the purpose.
All right, absolutely. And any last minute comments before we just close it. And of course it was incredible. I when I came to know that you were unwell, we said 30 minutes, but it was so nice to listen to you. And I can actually continue, but I'll not do that because I know how you're not well at all. So please help us with last minute comments before we wrap up.
I think I totally understand that a lot of people, are busy in their life, they're learning, they might have assignments to be submitted tomorrow and on Monday and everything, but pause, think what you really want to do, and be happy with everything. The world is getting so, in a fast paced environment, you might lose your calm, but stay there, and have faith in your feelings, and always believe your gut. If anything doesn't feel right, never take that step. And the one thing that I've recently concluded to an extent is, won't be 100% right, but how you feel about the interview process in any company talks a lot about the culture you're getting into. So if the whole interview process from the first call until the offer letter makes you feel confused, makes you feel kuch gadbad hai or something, just have a heads up that that's how the culture is going to be. So always pay attention to the flags, always pay attention to how you're treated. And as HRs, to any HR, I would say, no matter who you offer a job, no matter who, make sure you tell them why they're not selected, because that's one call every person waits for. and has a lot of hopes on those areas. So whenever I tell my colleagues or HR friends, I tell them, yeah, there are so many people who don't tell the next person that where the feedback or feed forward was not given. And as a company, one shouldn't do, if you're trying to aim higher, always tell them that we've chosen, at least tell them you've chosen somebody else. That would serve the purpose, because not getting back to anybody is the least you could do. Just acknowledge their efforts. I think as HRs to HRs is what I want to say. Yeah.
No, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Somebody is looking at, and that just defines Anna, the very sorted person. When you mentioned that, pause, reflect, and always figure that out, always making sure that, you get the bigger perspective. That's what you always do, making
Yeah.
us more aware about
The
the big.
greater good. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. We had an incredible time. We really appreciate, as I've been thanking you, and we certainly look forward, if not your husband coming in, but you coming in for sessions or modules related to HR very, very soon. Thank you so much, Anna, for your time today, and thanks
To you
everyone
too.
for attending it. I hope
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
learned well. Thank you, Anna, and thanks so much, Aishwarya, for helping us put this
Thanks,
together.
Ashwarya. Thank you. Thank you, Soil.
Thank you.
All right.